hopefully it doesn't make any more sound.
Cheers, Liz, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about like what we do, and so you can understand what we do. We're a film and TV production company based in York. Basing ourselves in York was obviously not the best decision in the world when you're trying to do a very London-based business. But we decided to have a lot of fun with it and play to the fact that we were in York. So we basically specialise in sort of making music videos, lifestyle-led businesses, lifestyle-led films. Lifestyle-led films and brand-orientated films. So that's meant that we've worked with some sort of very exciting brands, even though we are only 5 years old. Also sort of dabbling in documentaries, bits of adverts, and basically a lot of travelling, which is always good fun. We've got a nice studio based up in York. As you can see, it's a massive sort of open space that's used for anything from actually making films and being a studio, to events, to poetry evenings, to all sorts of things. People can just hire that out when they want. But the other thing that we decided to do to add to our brand that we feel has sold us and got to where we were is we started doing outdoor cinemas, which now, sort of 5 years on, is sort of well done and done quite well with secret cinema. But at the time, York has pretty much nothing creative going for it at all. So we decided to do a pop-up cinema. We've done 6 of these now, all of which have been an absolute sellout in York, and has sort of added this whole different dynamic to our brand, which we were very business orientated. We were making films for these big businesses, and there was no actual chance to associate ourselves with customers and people in York. And this was genuinely one of the best decisions we made, because it actually made filmmaking a lot easier for us. This was Jaws. We played in a swimming pool at York, had these big TVs. I was in Minster Gardens. And it actually meant that we worked with these amazing people, and say if we wanted to film like 5-year-olds for a free mobile advert, that we knew someone who knew someone that could do it, whereas we were finding that quite hard. But actually, what I mainly want to talk about is where it actually all started, how we developed this business into what it is today. It all started with this girl who's called Nancy Kemp, who's one of my sister's friends. And when we were in second year university, she needed a music video for a song that she just released. I put a shout out on Facebook, was like, is there anyone on my course that would be interested in coming to stay at my mum and dad's bed and breakfast in the Lake District, and would just spend a weekend playing around filming a song for this girl to become an artist. And I got 3 replies, which are now the 3 directors of Orillo. We left, we went to the Lake District and spent a weekend filming, and when we were sat down all together, we had to fill out a university form to let us borrow the kit. And it was like, what is the name of your production company going to be? And we were racking our brains forever, like trying to think of some like clever TV pun that we could like put on it. But actually we just genuinely couldn't think of anything. And then one of, I think it was Sarah, asked for the Wi-Fi password at my mum and dad's guest house. And my dad said it was a real app, which is Riverside in Spanish, and my mum and dad's bed and breakfast is called Riverside. So that was where the Orillo sort of story was born. So anyway, we fast forward to the end of university. I used to row, and one of the rowers, one of the coaches of the rowing club, needed some films making for like the chaplain department of like the university, and we were like, oh, it sounds a bit dry, a bit drab. He was like, how much do you charge? And we were like, how much do we charge? We're only university kids, I don't know, like we'll say 150 a day. He's like, yeah, that sounds about good. And he said, and you can have a hire car for the day. We were like, a hire car? Like, that's amazing. And you can have £30 expenses. And we were just genuinely like blown away with this this world of expenses that we'd never ever experienced. Anyway, we ended up going around filming about religion in universities, which was genuinely the most driest subject I've ever filmed. But it gave us a first for actually making films and making them in a business type way. So we took that £800 that we made from visiting all those universities and just saved it in a little bank account and didn't do anything with it. Anyway, graduation came and we graduated from university. We knew that we had this concept of Orillo, but actually how do we bring it all together and how do we start joining the dots to make this sort of vision a reality? Anyway, my friend was in San Diego University, and I decided to go and visit him when I graduated. And at the same time, Jack Wills were expanding over into America. And I was working in the York store just as like a Saturday job, just to tide me over a little. And the videos they were playing in there at the time were absolutely diabolical. And I was just like, right, I need to, while I'm going over to America, I need to somehow like link these two together. So I sent an email to the marketing manager just being like, look, I'm just about to graduate, I've got a camera, is there any way I can come and film? Like, no response. I was just like, oh, come on, like, it's like 2 weeks away now. Sent another email, no response. A week's coming, I was like, look, I've got a camera, is there any way I can just come and do this filming? Eventually, I got a reply back saying, if you've got a camera, yeah, you can come and do the filming. I was like, absolutely amazing, although I didn't actually have a camera. So I had to run out, buy a camera. When I flew over to America, we filmed their new stores opening, everything that was going on, and flew back to England, went straight up to Newcastle where Rich, one of the other directors was, edited away, sent it off, and we just got one reply back saying, holy shit. And we were like, right, we're onto something here. We know that we can make good films, we know that we can deliver to a business, let's just do it. So we all moved back to York. I got flown back out to America again with Jack Wills. This time it was a paid job, and the ball was rolling. The university that we were currently at got wind that we were doing this, and they said that can we turn their whole paper prospectus onto a digital film reel. So we were like, yeah, of course we can. So that was like 2 forms of really good income that meant that we could start building our business. Oh, I missed a couple of slides here. So yeah, we moved into a little room here. We had 1 computer, 4 of us. That's Rich sleeping on the sofa as we were just churning out these films that we were making for Jack Wills in York, St. John. Another little glamorous picture of us all just living here. But again, we weren't making enough money to survive. And we were like, how are we going to get the final step of being full-time filmmakers? It's a real hard challenge. So we were like, right, what we'll do is we'll get part-time jobs. We'll get part-time jobs, but every hour of every day is Orillo's time. And any sort of time that you want to spend doing your part-time job, you have to pay Orillo, I think it was like 45% of whatever you earn to the company, to keep the company going. So we got a job in a bar, in a clothes shop, at Pizza Hut, and we were doing this, and we kept doing it, and we kept doing it, and I realised pot of money was getting bigger and bigger. We were investing in more kit. We eventually got a second Mac, and we were like, oh, like, here we go, like, it's starting to pick up. And then eventually in June, it got too much for me, and I was actually not doing any part-time work and doing 100% Orillo work, but actually not getting paid from Orillo. So I was like, guys, is there any way I can be the first to get the £100 salary from Orillo? And we all agreed to do it, and then two months later, everyone else left their jobs, and we all were on £100 a week, which we thought was absolutely amazing. Orillo was paying for our rent and our bills, and we just got £100 sort of beer money a week, which actually doesn't go very far at all. And then we eventually moved out of our living room into an incubation hub that was up at one of the creative spaces in York. And this was the absolute key for us. This gave us the structure that we needed. This gave us that working day like ethos, rather than sort of lounging in our towels for half a day just editing behind a computer. We were actually getting up and coming into this small room. It was basically as long as this, and there was all 5 of us crammed in there. And that was us just eating pizza. So eventually we started growing, and we started getting bigger, and the clients were getting bigger, and we're delivering a much stronger product than we ever were before. And in that incubation hub, you only have 1 year to sort of build your business, and then you've got to go into the big wide world of real counsel, of like business rates and actually paying for internet and all that sort of stuff. So we knew that we had to work fast. Eventually we got quite chummy with IMG, which I imagine some of you know is a big media agency, and they really liked the style of the films that we were making. We were going very much down the creative, YouTube-esque stuff that we all know and probably love today, rather than the sort of corporate, boring structure that these guys were used to. And we were a breath of fresh air into it, and we managed to sort of whittle our way right through into the business and end up going to Brazil and Australia and I can't remember where else we went, but we went a lot of places with them. and that again gave us a little bit more money to sort of build up. And we decided to employ 2 more people. So we went from being 4 directors to actually my girlfriend and my best friend. Which probably wasn't the best of ideas looking back on it now. But what we decided to do, which was really quite interesting, was not employ anyone that was in film and TV. We knew that we had the skills, we knew that we had the passion to make films, and that was the important bit. What we actually needed was someone with a bit of organisation skills, because we were a bit of a mess, like arty-farty, airy, creative people aren't very good at organising. So that was where Kay came in, my girlfriend at the time. And then my best friend could literally sell ice to an Eskimo, so we brought him on. And that just proved absolutely invaluable to the business. Like, we didn't know at the time, and we were a bit sort of like, do we employ them, do we not? But yeah, it was genuinely one of the best decisions we made, because we chose to keep our strengths where we were and bring other people into the team. But anyway, time was coming to move out of this little incubation hub. There was 6 of us now in this room that was about the size of this desk. And again, we couldn't even afford computers for Kate and Rob, so they were using their own computers, and we're just like, this is an absolute sham. Like, we're never going to get off the ground. We're still only paying ourselves £100 a week. We're all living in one house, so there's 6 of us working in a tiny office, living in one house. Like, it was genuinely a recipe for disaster. But actually, we made it through, and we needed a bigger space, and we scoured like the office. Like forums in York, just like looking for somewhere that we could base ourselves, and there was nowhere that we felt represented our business. They were all sort of 7th floor of this big generic office space, and we're like, we need somewhere that's more creative, somewhere that we can wheel our kit in, that we can think a little more creatively, that we can mess around in. And actually we found this little gem on Gumtree of all places, and we went and visited it, and it was just an absolute shithole. Like, you can't really quite see it there. But like, there was like old mattresses like up in there, and like, it was a big space, and we could sort of see the vision for it. Again, we had no real money to actually get it, so we said to the landlord, is there any way that we can have this for free for 4 months, and we will totally renovate it for you. And if you want to kick us out by then, and it's not nice enough, then fair enough. And so miraculously he agreed. So we went from being filmmakers to office renovators. We did it all ourselves. We ripped out the walls, scraped the 40 years worth of paint that was on there, like sanded back the floors, decided to rip this wall out here, like board that door up, and like, thank God he actually never came in while this was going on, otherwise he probably would have killed us. But eventually, after a long time, after 4 months, eventually made it into like an actual quite nice space, and you saw what it actually finally looks like now. So anyway, we've got this amazing space, and we don't really know what to do with it. And we set about looking for our first big contract, and we were filming something called the Colour Runs, which I don't know if any of you know is a 5K fun run that you basically run around a course and you get paint thrown at you. And we were making films for these guys through IMG, not really, just making films, not really knowing that anyone else was really taking much notice from them. And what happened? Oh yeah. Little did we know that Dulux, who were sponsoring the event, were trying to make a film at the same time. But every time we released our film, Dulux would never release their film, because our film was always 10 times better than what they had produced. And they were getting sort of really angry at the fact that they were doing this. So eventually one day they came up to Richard and they were like, is there any way we can get a business card? We've got a tendering process to do all of the Dulux online media. Is there any way that we can have your card? So we went, we did the tender, we were we were sat in a room, and I was dressed like this, and there was just like suits all around us, and we were like, oh God, like, there's no way that we're going to get this contract, absolutely no way. Anyway, lo and behold, we managed to get it, and gave the stability that it really needed to absolutely ramp up our production value. So when we got that contract, we just decided we got a business plan sorted, and it was just invest, invest, invest. Like, at no point was we ever going to take any profits up until our 5th birthday, which is coming up in a few months. And we've just poured so much money into increasing our kit, increasing our staff, so we now employ 12 full-time people, and there's about 5 or 6 freelance part-time people that help us. We now own a cinema camera We've got a professional feature film colour grading thing getting installed in the office next week. The space is now rented out for events every other day pretty much. And so we've finally got to where we wanted to be. And I think for the first time ever we can actually say that Orillo is offering the product that we wanted to originally offer 5 years ago. So it's taken us a long time to get here, but in my eyes definitely well worth it. I usually give a 2-hour talk on that, so I think I managed to cram it into about 15-20 minutes. So anyway, thanks for listening guys. If there's any sort of questions of how we got there, I'm more than willing to answer them. Is it a Q&A type thing afterwards or not?
Yeah. Has anyone got any questions they'd like to ask? Don't be shy.
So when you were, to begin with, people kind of approaching you, then how did you start pitching? Was that when you hired your best friend to kind of pitch?
Yeah, he literally pitched, and we were surprised that like the network that's come out of university, and there's like your friends start working for agencies, and then to be fair, most of our original stuff came from Jack Wills and their marketing managers. Obviously, as they grew with the business, we grew with them, and then they moved to other companies, and we moved along with them and started filming with them. So it has all been word of mouth really, up until quite recently, where we've actually started tendering and pitching for processes, because we've actually got the resources to do it. Whereas when you're young and you can't really do it, and you almost get laughed out of the park anyway when we try to do some of our earlier pitches. So yeah, it was all word of mouth right at the start. Yeah, no, yeah.
Were you studying film at uni?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
So I was studying film, but as we were talking about before, we had no business knowledge like whatsoever. So we've literally just been learning along the way, and it genuinely has been a really sort of rocky roller coaster. I've painted a little picture here of how it was, but learning business the hard way is really scary. We've had a lot of HMRC fines for not filing things right or wrong. We've lost a best friend because of the business right at the start. When I talk about the story, I actually talked that there was 4 directors. There was actually 5 directors right at the start. And when Orillo was really small, sort of 1.5 years old, we decided to make the decision to start doing those open air cinemas. And obviously we were only turning over £30,000 a year right at the start. And for us to decide to start doing events when we're not even making enough money to buy a few beers, like it was stupid. And one of the other directors was like, that's the worst business decision you've ever made, like you will ever make. Like we can't continue doing it. And we were like, it's adding so much to the brand, it's helping us grow, it's making us seem bigger, and we're giving something back to the city that we actually enjoy it, and we just want to do it. Like, why would we not spend our money doing it? And eventually it got too much, and we had to do a management buyout at the age of 22, not really knowing what, like, we're losing a best friend for something that potentially could be something but wasn't actually anything at the moment. And for us it was really hard, and yeah, it's scary. The business world is scary, but I think it's obviously what we've got out of it is so much better than what we got. And I think now I've genuinely stepped back from making films and become a lot more business acute, and I think it does need someone to do that in the business. Yeah, that's
your friend gone on to successful?
Yeah, he's gone on to work for other production companies. He tried to start out his own production company for a while, and I think he found it hard on his own, because it is hard. Like the main thing that I think makes Orillo so strong is this aspect of team. We don't employ any freelancers to do any film work. We keep everything in-house, and we learn ourselves, and we stay as a really sort of close-knit family, and when we say that, we actually mean it. And I think trying to be in the production world, as you guys will probably know, like, team is everything, collaboration is everything, no one's going to be able to do everything on their own. And I think he just found it difficult, so he moved to a very successful business in Manchester, and I think he's doing really well. But we don't speak to him anymore, which is a real shame. I probably would quite like to sort of re-spark a bit of friendship with him. But yeah, well, it wasn't a nice experience.
Are you going to stay in this arena, or have you got any plans to sort of anything ambitions to sort of do sort of features or short films? Or? Yeah, so the business is very much now geared to producing like cinema content stuff and short films and more high-end stuff. With our core business has been in the sort of corporate sector, you know, producing Dulux media online. But recently we won a TV bid out in Saudi Arabia, of all places.
and we've been making a TV show out in Saudi, which was a 6-part, 30-minute, a 6-episode, 30-minute TV show out in Saudi Arabia, which was our biggest contract to date, and actually never aired or got screened in Saudi Arabia because the king died, unfortunately, right at the end of the project. So everything got scrapped for political reasons, which is a real shame. But that TV, film, music video, high-end advertising is where we're going. And we've just sort of been doing the corporate stuff and reinvesting back in the business to build the structure so we're ready to do everything in-house and we don't have to hire any kit or hire any freelancers to do it. Which is also a really interesting place to go, because actually we've got an unusual setup and people are actually quite scared of it, and we've actually lost jobs to agencies like yourself who are like, who's the director on that shoot? And we're like, well, no one's really the director because we're a unit, we're a team. They're like, ooh, can I not just see the work that director's done? It's like, well, we don't work like that. We work as a team. Like, this is what we produce as a team every time. But it's quite a scary concept and something that's quite unusual. So yeah, our goal is to go further. Our goal is just to genuinely have fun. Like, we want to keep doing those outdoor cinemas. Like, we want to keep doing events in the office. So there's been talks and batting around of like launching our own product, of which may be vodka, and like ploughing all of our resources, like just making like funny films and like having fun with it rather than taking it as a serious business. Just to keep things fresh and keep it exciting, because actually like watching paint dry for Dulux isn't actually the funnest job in the world, and we want to just keep having fun with what we've created. So yeah, I don't really know what the future holds too much. Hopefully it's good. Any more questions?
So you said that a lot of your stuff came from word of mouth. How do you end up in Saudi Arabia?
We ended up in Saudi Arabia through IMG actually. Okay. So we started doing those colour runs and we started supporting them quite strongly with media. And eventually the opportunity came up where the project manager of the colour runs was moving from project manager there up to doing a mass participation event in Saudi Arabia. So the whole TV episode was surrounding obesity in Saudi as the most obese nation in the world. And they were trying to put this 5K fun run on, but obviously running in Saudi Arabia is like unheard of. It's too hot, there's sandstorms. So we had to make loads of supporting media that went around this mass participation event, and thus like a TV show came from that, which was a really interesting project to work on actually. And yeah, Saudi's an interesting place. I don't know if I'd go back out there.
Any other questions?
Came late, so I don't know if you showed it.
Yeah, I do. I didn't know how long we were on, so I actually removed them. I'll see if I can find something from somewhere. I remember downloading one video. Now you make it fit the screen. So this was like a sort of promo video that we made for. So this was like a promo video that we made for Yacht Week, which is a sort of high-end 18 to 35 holiday, but they didn't want to portray it as an 18 to 35 holiday, so they wanted it to be quite luxurious but also get those elements of partying, which is actually quite a hard challenge to get, but it was good fun to film.
One night to be confused, one night to speed up dream. We had a promise made for accidental gain. Both under influence, we had different steps to know what to say. One night of marriage, the start of simple time. One night to push us through, and then 10 days of perfect times. The colors with we had a promise made. We were never found. One night,
suppose that's an example of like lifestyle-led work that we do, rather than like advertising or stuff like juleps. Probably a bit longer. Might be a bit of a longer road actually. I was giving a talk to a university kids the other day, so I thought they'd enjoy that one.
How did you get the
so the drone is actually the only thing that we do outsource because it's quite dangerous. We've had a couple of sort of near misses with it. But yeah, we took a drone out. We took a drone out there for. I've actually got the behind the scenes, which is how long have we actually got? Because the behind the scenes is a little bit longer. Do we want? No, we don't want to watch the behind the scenes. Yeah, we took a drone out there. But that's just like a friend of a friend, and we took it out there, and it was a lot harder than we thought to actually fly a drone out in Croatia because it's just not enjoyable. But we actually did have it like. The good reason why we do outsource it is we filmed the Volvo Ocean Race, which I don't know if any of you know is a round the world trip, and we're Abu Dhabi's media partner for that. So it means that we've actually travelled a fair bit with them. But they were in Cows Week in the Isle of Wight, and they wanted a shot of all the PR and press on that side of the boat, and then the £8 million sailing yacht on this side of the thing, and then a drone shot of it coming around like that. So we freelanced it out to this drone operator who we use all the time, and he was doing the movement like that, but didn't realise that there's like carbon fibre rods that go up like that to hold the mast up, and he hit the propeller that was going, and it just spun out of control and landed on this £8 million boat, and all the press was just there taking pictures, and I was doing the camera operating. And I couldn't actually see the drone, I could just see it crash. I was just like, oh my god. So that's why we outsourced the drone.
Cool. Thank you so much for coming in.
Cool.
And just to let you know, next week we've got some guys coming in telling you why you should quit your job and start producing your own beer. So come along.